I am a woman. I keep hearing about male loneliness and male dislocation. This may not be the best place to ask, but I am wondering what real men think about this. What changes in society would make you feel more satisfied with life? Are there day-to-day things that bother you or structural things? A lot of male podcasters approach this topic in bad faith, which makes many women not care about male loneliness. I think the average person is struggling today with the high cost of living and the way society is changing, but as I already know a woman's perspective, I am curious about men's. Story 1. I would be more satisfied with life if people stopped asking ridiculous questions and making stupid assumptions. Realized happiness is not a destination. No one is more unhappy than people who constantly pursue happiness. Story 2. Here is what I can say about my experience. I have usually been able to find women to be in my life, but the connections are inevitably casual and short-term. I cannot honestly say any of them have cared about me deeply. They like me in that they may think I am attractive, fun, or impressive, but that is as deep as it goes. I have never felt that my care for them was appreciated, and I think I am at the end of my rope. I do not think I can keep trying to make real emotional connections with women at this point. I also find it is a constant struggle. Women are steadily leaving my life for one reason or another, so I am constantly putting effort into meeting new ones. I am jealous of the ease with which women often have very active social lives. I have known a couple of women who were extremely introverted and put zero effort into socializing, but nevertheless had large friend groups. Moreover, they frequently went silent on all their friends due to depression or other reasons, with no contact for months at a time. During that time, their friends, including me, regularly reached out to them, checked in, and tried to make contact. When they finally re-emerged, their friends, including me, were overjoyed and welcomed them back, picking up where they left off. I guarantee that if I went silent on any woman for even a week, I would never hear from her again. I do have some decent male friends whom I appreciate, and that is something. The truth is that male friends do not fulfill the same emotional needs for me as women do. We can connect over activities and share interests, but I do not feel the same emotional connection with them as I do with women, even women who are just friends. Story 3. Just not to dismiss it. It does not diminish women's rights. It does not diminish women's loneliness. It is not harming women. A man is not an involuntarily celibate because he is romantically lonely. The world is not perfect for men. The grass is greener in many areas, but barren in others. Story 4. Sometimes we just want to be heard and acknowledged. Giving out the same advice we have heard all the time and assuming we are doing something wrong does not help. It is similar to what some married women complain about when they say they cannot vent to their husband without him trying to offer solutions instead of just listening. Except in reverse. Story 5. Answering the title question. It is not about simple loneliness per se. It is about physical, emotional, and intellectual isolation and the pervasive resistance encountered at every turn when you try to break it. Story 6. Because it is the most common struggle facing men, and most women really do not care about it. We hear about women's struggles all the time. Why can we not acknowledge a struggle men are facing? Story 7. Why don't you read Nora Vincent's book, Self-Made Man? Here is a list of other books. Warren Farrell, The Boy Crisis. Roy F. Baumeister, Is There Anything Good About Men? Warren Farrell, The Myth of Male Power. Story 8. Women always think they are the more emotional ones. This is far from the truth. Men need emotional support as well, especially from the person they love. When a female partner is dismissive and not supportive, it causes loneliness because men need emotional support from the person they love the most. Story 9. Just because a man is not with a woman does not mean he is lonely. I have laid next to a woman and felt like the loneliest man on earth. Many men have reached the conclusion that a life without a significant other is more peaceful, less expensive, less dramatic, and less complicated. It is often a choice. Men are different from women. We are not quite as social, and many are happy and find peace in solitude. Story 10. Some men do not suffer through it. The thing is, some of us were not taught well to socialize or we were just abandoned. My mom kind of forgets I am alive from time to time. Same with my closest friends. We just do not have someone to talk to. I work in a department with other people. I try to talk to them, but no one wants to talk about their day. The moment I sit back down after trying, my coworkers go out together for coffee. It's like people like me do not belong anywhere. When I try, I am pushed away. I am ignored by my mom. I just hear silence and my own thoughts. Everyone hates you. You are worthless. No one cares if you live or die. Your presence is just annoying. You would be better off not being here. Just end it because in the long run it will make life happier and easier for everyone. Then the thinking stops and it is all silence. Deafening silence. But I never do it. I cannot. I am a coward at being a coward. I do not want pity. I just want a friend to talk to or my mom to talk to. I am a grown man, but I am a failure. Story 11. A significant part of it is about the lack of sexual and emotional intimacy and support for men. There should be nothing wrong with wanting that. Making fun of it to shame those who dislike women really hurts everyone and makes the situation worse. Story 12. I am kind of accepting that my loneliness will be permanent. Managing it is the challenge. I will be fine, though. Story 13. For me, it comes in a few forms, and unfortunately, I have never felt more alone than I do now. Currently, I am unemployed and have applied for so many jobs that it is becoming very hard to see any worth in myself at the moment. This is also on top of going through a medical condition that strangely does not allow me to feel things normally. All my life, I have always seemed to be someone else's friend. They were never truly my friend. No one wanted to really be with me, except for the person who became my best man. Unfortunately, he passed away almost 10 years ago in December. During a tough time in my marriage, he wasn't there for me, and I withdrew from him and everyone else for 12 months. We reconnected the night before he passed. I was married with 3 children. My wife had an illness that was never-ending and hard to treat. During the period from 2004 to 2020, I suffered greatly. There was a time in the 2010s when I was getting migraines almost daily. My wife essentially asked me to kill her during one of her episodes, and I was left to navigate this alone. I have reached out to medical professionals for help, but I did not like the medication. I was more aware of my own situation than the professionals, and they couldn't really help, as the only answer they seemed to have was to take my children and leave my wife. No professional would say that directly. Where that leaves me today is with all that included. I now look back at my life with complete and utter regret at age 44. Due to my unemployment, my partner has pulled away from me and actually asked me to leave on my birthday. Last year, she left me on my birthday. This year, only my mother said happy birthday in person. My partner sent a text after 2 p.m. I removed my birthday from social media because I did not want my friends to send a happy birthday message just because social media reminds them. My biggest regret, besides not leaving my wife earlier and saving my children, is that I dedicated my life to local community sport. I did so much, but in doing so, I missed out on life and fun and drifted away from people. What really hurts is that I am not qualified for much in life. However, a job opened up in our area for our state's governing body for football. I would have thought I was good enough to get an interview. I feel like I wasted my life and now no longer want sport in my life. I am unable to move on to anything else as I have had only one interview after applying to 40 jobs. Some of these jobs are beneath me, yet I feel worthless. There is plenty more, but for now, thank you for asking a question I am able to reflect on, hopefully helping both of us. Take care. Story 14. I appreciate this conversation because my grown son has talked to me about being lonely. He is the primary parent to his 10-year-old son and works from home since the pandemic. Days go by without him having any real adult conversation. There are his work contacts and brief greetings from other parents dropping their kids off at sports practices and games, but he doesn't really engage socially with people. Once he quit drinking 11 years ago, that took bars off the list. All of his friends are already married and raising their kids, and of course he can't spend time with them all the time. Honestly, single parents who work full-time don't have much time to socialize. I don't know what the answers are. It's hard for me. a senior woman who prefers male friends, to understand what is going on in younger people's lives. His father and I have been married 49 years, and I'm grateful every day to have all men and a grandson in my life. Maybe it was easier for older generations. I can tell you that I don't like to hear about men's loneliness and know both sexes are suffering from it. I suppose I'm ignorant, but my heart tells me that this is a very real problem. Keep reaching out and connecting with others. We all need it. Story 15. A lot of male podcasters approach this topic in bad faith. What do you mean? Personally, I find that many women approach this subject in bad faith as well. They don't actually care about the cause or the effect all that much. They just want men to shut up and get back to work. What changes in society would make you feel more satisfied with life? Sexism against men should not be socially acceptable. Are there day-to-day things that bother you, structural things? Sexism against men is acceptable. I think the average person is struggling today with the high cost of living and the way society is changing. As I already know a woman's perspective, I am curious about men's. This affects men differently than women. Women are not expected to have their finances sorted when dating. Regardless of which woman you are dating, having more money than her is likely a standard she will hold you to. It is socially acceptable for her to treat you badly if you don't meet that standard. People may not see that as kind, but they generally will not criticize or punish her for it. Those who do are often subjected to insults themselves. This is a form of socially acceptable objectification that goes far beyond any practical concerns. Story 16. Just that men can experience the same emotions as women, and that it is okay for us to not be like a rock all the time. It is okay for us to cry sometimes, need support, get a hug, or anything. We are not really different from women. We are all just human. Story 17. What changes in society would make you feel more satisfied with life? Societal changes that facilitate opportunities for connection. For example, lowering the standard number of hours worked per week to allow more free time. Or the creation of more third spaces like parks, recreation centers, or public pools. On an individual level, it is hard to ignore how quickly men dispose of relationships over trivial things, such as wearing the wrong color socks or having an Android phone instead of an iPhone. Are there day-to-day things that bother you, structural things? I don't like how men are presumed guilty until proven innocent when allegations come from the opposite gender. On top of that, losing the cultural requirements that reinforce community certainly has not helped. Male adult sports and competitions should be more common. They would definitely help bond more than a few men. I think the average person is struggling today with the high cost of living and the way society is changing. Since I already know a woman's perspective, I am curious about men's. I think the average person struggles because that is life. You are signed up for struggle when you come out of the womb. Where I do think men struggle more is that we are more reliant on women than vice versa to keep a community. Our general discomfort with physical touch is not helpful either, especially when a strong majority of men have physical touch as a love language. But struggling is part of life. It is an opportunity to learn, to grow, or to shut down and run away. Story 18. Take the lead. I am so scared of something being taken the wrong way and causing trouble that I just do not do it anymore. It is not worth the risk. Yes, my autism plays into this. Story 19. I think it is being misconstrued. Men are detaching from society because they are being pushed out of it. Yet society is continuing as if this is not an issue. They will only realize it when they run off a cliff. After all, hindsight is 20/20 and gravity is harsh. Story 20. Great question, and thank you for your empathetic curiosity. I am not an expert but would cite two major causes. 1. Fatherlessness. In addition to single mothers by choice, men are often disadvantaged by the family court system in divorces predominantly initiated by women. This leads to boys growing up without a reliable male figure and therefore unable to understand healthy, mature masculinity and its social codes for relationships. We now have more than 2 generations of men who grew up that way, and it is only getting worse. Male spaces or lack thereof. We used to have many clubs and institutions where boys and men would gather, socialize, and bond. These are now mostly gone or have become mixed gender. Examples include Boy Scouts, athletic clubs, social clubs, male-only pubs and taverns, male-only schools and colleges, trades and apprenticeships, and many professional associations. How are men supposed to bond if they are not allowed to be among each other? Even men's bathrooms are not off-limits to women at conferences, for instance. There may be many other causes, but I believe these are major contributors. I am curious to know if this resonates with your experience or the men in your life. Thank you again. Story 21. It exists, but as a man, I do not believe it is as widespread as claimed. I see a lot of men in relationships, both romantic and platonic. I see many couples at Walmart, church, the mall, and on the streets. For those of us who struggle with loneliness, the reasons are diverse and multifaceted. The reasons for my loneliness are not the same as for everyone else, and I recognize that I am largely responsible for it. Just because it does not appear in your face every day does not mean it is not real, nor does it look the same for every man. Story 22. One of the hallmarks of loneliness is feeling out of sync with others, like you are not really part of the group or getting left behind. A big challenge is that male friendships have traditionally been activity-based, not leaving much room for shared vulnerability unless maybe after a few drinks. But shared vulnerability is core to deep friendship. The truth is, a lot of men were never taught how to reflect, express emotions, or build deeper bonds. Society is changing fast, but our social tools have not caught up. I have been thinking about this a lot and am actually building something to help men grow those skills and navigate these feelings. I am really glad you care enough to ask. Story 23. It's way deeper than just present-day structural issues. We are raised in a way that is frankly emotionally neglectful, at least those of us who had gender roles strictly enforced. The biggest issue, I think, is that we internalize the belief that we have zero intrinsic value, like a mother would bill us for her milk if she could. You only have value when you earn it, only deserve attention when you earn it, and if you have feelings or problems, you are a burden. When you cannot just be yourself and be nurtured, your emotional development is severely stunted. Many men lack hobbies, do not know what they want, and have no self-worth because no one ever encouraged these. This is obviously emotionally neglectful, but unfortunately, it is the reality for many men. It does not even require the mother to be mean. Often this kind of treatment is seen as tough love to prepare men for adulthood. The paradox is that from 0 to 8 years old is basically the only window a male has to be able to cry or be scared. Once you are an adult, you get no slack. So I guess the biggest point is that even when it seems obvious that someone must be willfully refusing to take action or make better choices, try to think about it from the perspective of someone who, in many respects, has the emotional skills of a child. Whatever feeling of terror women have about how physically violent men can be, men have about how emotionally devastating women can be. Bell Hooks has a book called The Will to Change that offers a good feminist perspective. No More Mr. Nice Guy is a helpful book by a psychologist about how childhood emotional neglect and abuse can cause men to feel isolated because of the desire to be perfect and appeal to everyone, which makes it impossible to be authentic and connect. Story 24. Society needs to socialize people properly. I think women find it easier to be socialized, which is why they do not have this problem as much. However, if men do not socialize, they are more likely to be mentally unstable due to loneliness. This is why there is a high suicide rate among men. Story 25. I make more than enough to get by, so I don't worry about that aspect of life. Health is good, my family is healthy too. I have a great house to live in with my girlfriend. Life would be better if I had more friends to hang out with. Loneliness for me is that I don't have many people to call at the last minute to grab a beer downtown with. It has been like that most of my adult life. I am 30 years old now. I'm not sure how to fix this or where to find people in a similar situation. I have most of my things sorted, but friendships are difficult for me to build. Story 26. I honestly think it is a bunch of bitter, entitled nonsense. These are people who grew up on screens being shocked that social skills are in fact a skill. Story 27. Men have always been lonely or just unheard by their peers and society for struggles we regularly go through. Most partners find vulnerable men to be less manly, so they are made to keep feelings bottled up. These days, you hear about it more because men have become more comfortable sharing their struggles due to the internet and its anonymity. It acts like a free therapist. Seeing or reading about other men going through the same things encourages adding to that discussion. In summary, you see more about male loneliness because of the internet. Story 28. I think we should call it loneliness because it is a condition that both men and women can experience, and I am not sure if the feeling is notably different between sexes. Even if men feel it more than women, it would be better to describe it as a loneliness epidemic, where the details show it seems to affect men more. A parallel would be acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Yes, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome affected gay people more than heterosexual people. But successful awareness campaigns insisted, correctly, that anybody could be affected by it. Story 29. I would say that many men are taught the wrong things, which leads to loneliness and isolation. There was a recent interview on cable news network with a woman journalist who spent time in the manosphere and noted the toxic traits of these communities. Additionally, men often believe they need to be with the most attractive woman, but compatibility is more important, and there are many interpretations of attractiveness. Male loneliness is visible in the involuntarily celibate community, and their problems are not hard to fix. They are simply taught the wrong things. Story 30. That it is largely self-inflicted. You cannot be lonely if you have friends, and anyone remotely likable has plenty of friends. Story 31. It is both significant and problematic, but also profoundly simple to fix. For example, one outing every 6 months or 2 additional close friends. I would venture to say that most men's issues are like that. Both profoundly damaging, yet very little would fix them, to the point where fixes are easily overdone if people are not careful. Story 32. There were somehow lowlifes for expressing loneliness socially or romantically. There is a noticeable minority of us who do not get interest or respect from much of society. This will increase as inequality rises, I think. Story 33. The biggest issue is that it is in women's best interest to help manage this problem, since they are being denied access to potentially wonderful boyfriends and husbands because men do not understand how to date women. My suggestion is that women need to either be radically honest or choose not to discuss it. I know that a man cannot just be so nice and respectful that a woman cannot help but fall in love with him. You know that is true, I know that you know it is not true, and now you know that I know. Either admit what really excites you or say you do not feel comfortable discussing this and redirect men to talk to other men about this topic. Story 34. As a real man, I am not lonely, and if I were, I do not think I would care too much as an introvert. I would probably make my own little happiness. Every man is different, though, and I have no doubt some men who are wallowing in loneliness are suffering. Story 35. Men perceive more risks than benefits in relationships, both long-term and short-term. Many stories exist of men being accused of crimes related to relationships with women. While some men may be at fault, many are not. Some women, especially in Western cultures, express that they do not need or want men, feel bothered by them, or want men to fulfill purely transactional roles. In response, men are listening and withdrawing. They are simply not interested in those dynamics. Story 36. You ask the question in a way that implies you do not have much knowledge on the topic and are curious to find out more, but then assert that many podcasters and others approach the topic in bad faith. I would like you to explain that. Story 37. It is false. Women experience loneliness too. Pew Research Center study finds women and men experience loneliness at similar rates. Story 38. Nothing. They do not need to know anything about it. Just live your life and be happy. Do things as you have always done. Men just need to get over it. Story 39. In general, everyone in developed countries is experiencing alarming rates of depression and loneliness. There are many studies about it. I do not have many opinions on the male-focused version of it. I mostly hear it discussed in certain online communities. Story 40. The reason men are lonely is because feminism, globalism, and social media have caused inflation, depressed wages, and raised the cost of living. I would eliminate all 3 of these factors if I could. The country and the world function better without them. Story 41. It does not exist. It is just that women love discussing this because it makes us look weak. That is the only reason you care. Why not discuss actual issues men face? Women are just as lonely. Story 42. You have two separate questions embedded in your text. What would you want women to know about male loneliness? To the angry postmenopausal feminist cat ladies writing Colette posts about how men failed them. No. You chose this. You could have chosen otherwise. What changes in society would make you feel more satisfied with life? Every social and state program that replaces men's roles in the home and family should be defunded and dismantled. I have no reason to pay into a system that makes me irrelevant. Story 43. If you want structural change, women should completely reject and cancel other women who spread toxic ideas such as $30,000 rings and $200,000 incomes being considered the bare minimum. Coffee dates or other more practical first meetings being unacceptable and seen as a sign of inadequacy rather than fiscal responsibility. Having a roster being viewed as an empowering trait. Sugaring or demanding an allowance as a condition of dating, which is prostitution, not a relationship. Foodie calls being acceptable in any way. Demanding that men make the first move while trying to cancel a man who dares to try. Embracing a philosophy I tell men all the time. If you have to lie about it, it is probably because you should not be doing it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.